Well, Bobby Fischer played Najdorf himself, the man himself, and it was a Najdorf variation, and
Okay.
Fischer was victorious. So I thought it would be pretty cool to see how he beat Najdorf in the Najdorf.
Playing the Najdorf.
So Fischer is
And the
white.
Najdorf is still played by Super GM level today, right? Like I think it's quite common in these like big tournaments. I often hear that people are playing the Najdorf.
The Najdorf variation?
Yeah, I think so.
Yes, yes. So, yeah, Sashin has it in the chat. MVL is probably the world's leading expert on it. He plays it
Right.
exclusively.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I've heard, I think.
And all the world champions have played the Najdorf. I'm not sure about Magnus. I'm sure he's played it a few times, but I know Kasparov, Fischer, all the guys before Fischer. Yeah, the Najdorf was a potent weapon for those guys.
Cool.
All right, so let's. This was during the Olympiad, and if I was better prepared, I would have the information on this. Where I thought there was. Yeah, chess.com doesn't give the information on this screen. Is it the 64 Olympiad? I think it was 1964.
Okay. So how old is Fischer here then? Is this peak Fischer? This is a little before peak Fischer.
So he would have been early 20s here, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So pretty close. It's pretty much peak Fischer.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got it.
So let's check out. It was the Najdorf, like I said. Which, ironically, Fischer played the Najdorf from the black side. So it's interesting to see how he played against this. So he played a move which is popular today, h3. The idea is that white wants to play g4, bishop g2.
Oh, wow. Okay. I thought it was just, it stops the knight as well, but I thought that was the main idea behind it. But
also stops the knight. No, that's a very important point, because bishop e3 typically happens. Yep.
Right. Cool.
Now, I believe the main move, Nakamura. Hey, Strobex. Good to see you, Strobex. Nakamura has played h5 here, just with the idea to prevent g4. Now, I play this as white myself. I like playing just g3 and continuing on with the plan.
Right.
So I think h5 is the more modern approach. e6 I think is also possible. Yeah. But in this game, Najdorf played b5.
Counter expansion.
This game is not a positional game, so you will be pleased with this one.
Cool.
So, we are taught not to move our knights twice in the opening. Well, Fischer says, I don't care about those rules. He plays knight to d5.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
So, Najdorf played bishop b7. But before we look at that move, the obvious question is, well, why can't black just take the free pawn?
Yeah.
Well, because things get tricky. Queen f3. Thank you, Wisha Kwong.
Oh, I see it.
Thank you.
I see the combination now.
We've got knight and the rook lined up.
Yeah.
How do you want to...
And the knight on d5 can check.
How do you... Exactly. How do you want to save that knight?
Yeah. You'd have to move the pawn, so it'd be f5, wouldn't it?
You could try f5. It's looking...
But your knight can take as well.
That's looking pretty miserable, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my god.
So king is going to be open here on this diagonal, also this diagonal. Yeah. And we've got our pawn back.
Yeah. You can't defend with the bishop here because the bishop's just hanging for the queen.
Yeah. And of course the tactic that you were referring to is if the knight goes back, we say knight takes knight, which is check.
Check.
And then we say thank you for the free rook in the corner.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So Najdorf is not a grandmaster for no reason, so he did not take that pawn.
Yep.
He played bishop to b7. Fischer swaps knights.
Yep. Pawn is hanging now.
And now he played c4, trying to just open up some lines.
Yeah. Leaving the e4 pawn hanging as well.
So he develops his bishop, and black takes the e4 pawn that was hanging. And Fischer castles. All right. Let's look at this situation. White has bishop and knight developed. And we can also talk about the king being developed. King is castled. So that's 3 pieces that are developed. Black only has 1. White's king being castled should be safe, whereas black's king is still in the middle. And kings that stay in the middle of the board are subject to being attacked by pieces in the middle.
Yeah. There's no really safe direction to castle, though, either, is there?
And it's going to be a few moves to be able to castle as well.
Yeah.
So let's see how Fischer... This is a quick game, and this is one of the reasons why I wanted to show you this, is that Fischer... he was very... very clear and concise in how he converted advantages. Okay. So Najdorf played d5. Sachin in the chat says, why not rook g8? Rook g8. That is a good question. So we've got rook and bishop attacking g2. Let's see. Well, we could first start with bishop takes f7.
Oh, damn. I wasn't... Wow.
I don't think it works. No, it doesn't work. Now, I thought this is what I was looking at. I was looking at check, king over, and then bishop h6. But black doesn't have to agree to all that. He can just say, all right, go away.
Yeah.
So bishop takes f7 doesn't seem to be working. So...
There's 2 ways to defend against the bishop. There's f3 and knight f3, right?
Yeah.
You can also go g3, which might give a line to the bishop, but it means that the rook can't come down.
Yeah, I'm just curious if there's like a tactic here. I'm not seeing one. Queen a4 I don't think does anything. So let's see what happens. Let's try your idea of just g3. I think that's fine.
I think that might be fine.
Ooh,
it remains to be seen. You'd have to play out a whole game, wouldn't you? It is a bit of a long-term weakness, but it doesn't seem to have any immediate... You've still got the advantage of development.
Correct.
Right?
But I'm curious...
As long as you can capitalize before getting in trouble.
Yeah, let's try f3. Sachin says, what about f3? Let's take a look at f3. So that is a little more aggressive. It attacks a piece. So let's say the bishop goes back.
In a way, you've weakened your dark squares with your king, but when you look at the dark square bishop, that's a long way away from getting in the game at the moment.
Okay, so this is bishop b7 is not a good move.
Okay.
We've got a loose piece, not defended at all. And we can bring the king out to f7. So there's tactics ahoy that are available here.
Queen b3 would be pretty bad here, I think, because you're attacking the bishop and threatening bishop f7, right?
Yeah, I think queen b3 looks pretty good. In fact, Larry David might say it's pretty good. There's my pop culture reference for you guys for the day. Yeah, that looks strong. So after f3, perhaps the bishop has to come this way. And we've just blocked our rook. So I think... oh, okay, and then we've got a nasty check. So by taking the bishop away from the queen side, there's one less piece that can help out on that diagonal. So what happens after check?
Yeah.
Now,
the queen or the knight.
If queen d7, now this is what makes tactical games so much fun.
Yeah.
We can play the incredible. So we've got pawn is pinned, right? If that pawn moves, we win the rook.
Oh, wow. Is it bishop b5?
It is bishop b5, yeah.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
So we're winning the queen if black doesn't take. So black would take.
Yeah.
And we win the rook. So we have a rook for a bishop.
And the knight is pinned to the king as well.
So good question, Sachin. Why not rook g8? I think that was the reason. Your f3 idea, just to put that bishop on a less optimal square, and that's definitely not the square we want to put the bishop.
Yeah.
All right, let's see what Najdorf did. So instead of rook g8, Najdorf secures the bishop with d5 and also hits the bishop on c4. Now Fischer made a mistake here, rook e1.
Okay.
Seems to make sense, right? Because, you know, line up the rook with the bishop.
Yeah.
But incredibly, Najdorf had a resource here of bishop takes g2.
Whoa.
Hot tamale.
Wow, wait. Oh, and then if king takes, then the rook comes over.
Right, so if the king takes, we've got rook g8 check. How do you want to put the king back? Do you want to put it here? Okay, you can put it there.
Yeah, I think so.
Now we take the bishop back.
Oh, yeah.
And queen d5. That's looking pretty nasty.
Crushing. That's, yeah.
Now, guys, I do admit I have the engine evaluation on, but I don't have the moves on. So I'm doing the analysis myself here, guys. So just in case you have Stockfish on and you're like, oh, no, that's a terrible move. Okay. And this is, I mean, that's a common idea in chess, a kamikaze sacrifice, because black played d5 in order to attack white's bishop. So he wants to take the bishop, but if he does that right away, then there's just rook takes. So if we do this, there's no real big gain from that.
Yeah, that's it.
So black could say, well, I can win a pawn and open up the white king. And only afterwards do I take.
Got it.
So
that's what Fischer didn't see.
So rook e1 was what Fischer played. And
still a pretty badass move, even when it's wrong.
You'd naturally think that, you know, this might be black's idea, but black actually developed his e-pawn because he wants to get his bishop out to be able
Yep.
to perhaps get in front of the king or attack on these two squares perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
But he's weak on the light square.
Mm-hmm.
And the problem what d5 does is that, similar to that other line that we looked at, he can't bring the bishop back to help out.
Yeah.
All right, knight d7. So now, Fischer loved his bishops, especially the light squared bishop. He often played bishop c4 against the Sicilian. Problem is, there's a pawn in front of it, and he doesn't really have much scope here, does he?
No.
How could he increase the scope of that bishop? What do you think he played here to do that?
Does he take the bishop with the rook, encouraging the pawn to take
He does.
his rook? Damn.
So here's another
Fischer.
example.
Such a Fischer move.
Yeah.
I would never think of that.
So we learn early on about the material values of each piece, right?
Yeah.
Pawns are 1, knights and bishops 3, rooks 5, queen 9, right? And depending on how you've learned, I mean, those values might be a little different. There's different schools of thought, but in general, that seems to be the common numerical system.
Yeah.
So a lot of people would be like, oh God, why would I give up 5 points for 3 points? Well,
Hey, Barnaby.
there are... Right, Miso says some say that a bishop is 3.5. Correct.
Yeah.
There are positional elements. So it's not all... Material is just one aspect of chess. So this is another example of a game where dynamic factors were more important than static factors. And so now you look at this bishop. He's got a nice open... If my arrows would draw for me today. Okay. A nice open diagonal towards the king. And look at that knight. That knight is in a beautiful square. It's covering 3 squares around that black king.
Yeah.
So, do you really think Fischer is feeling bad about giving up that rook for that bishop? No, of course not. All right, so Najdorf develops his dark squared bishop.
Oof.
Would love to be able to play castles.
Yeah.
So Fischer says,
Bishop
no
H.
you don't. I'm going to check you.
Oh, wow. Oh, check instead.
Now, he came up the board. If he goes to f8, I suspect Fischer was planning bishop to h6, lining up the bishop with the king. And that is going to be, I mean, I don't know, after king g8, queen b3, we've got threats here.
Yeah.
We're also threatening queen g3 to line up the queen with the king there. Yeah, this is a definite ay caramba moment.
Yeah. There's our second movie TV reference. For
There you go. Okay. So on knight g7, the king came up, and Fischer just said, okay, I'll check you back. So why did he do that? This was the position that we just had 2 moves ago. Why did Fischer do that? Well, now black can't castle. Once the king or the rook has moved, you are no longer allowed to castle. That is illegal in chess.
Right.
So Fischer
Yeah.
got rid of the bishop because the bishop is holding on to these 2 squares in particular.
Yeah.
Najdorf took. This knight is in a beautiful location.
Yeah.
It's close to the king.
Itself.
That is a textbook knight. So you don't want to bring it back to take that bishop.
Yeah.
He took back with the pawn. Najdorf plays queen to b6. Fischer played rook to d1. And this position is very Morphy-like, actually.
Yeah, I was just thinking that too. The way that every single piece is just swarming the king.
Yeah, so you look at it. That's a good point. 1, 2, 3. All 4 white pieces are active. Black only has... Well, really, the queen is the only one that's active because the knight is pinned. And king is stuck in the middle. That's the problem. Your king is not safe in the middle of the board, generally. So Najdorf tries rook a7 to help defend laterally.
Yeah. And no queen e3 takes e3 because the king can just move away and it's safe from checks if it goes to h1 or something. Instead of moving the rook to a7.
The knight is holding on to the e3 pawn.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, knight is holding. You're right.
Yeah.
Sorry. Of course.
So he brings the rook in to hit the queen. Queen has to go back. Queen b3. So every move, it's like bang, bang, bang. It's like a boxer, you know, jab, jab, jab.
Yeah. Wow.
So Najdorf played here, queen c7. I suspect he knew that he was lost at this point.
Yeah.
Bishop takes. He gives the king a safe square, and Fischer played bishop to e6, threatening to win the knight and the queen next move. And here Najdorf resigned.
Wow.
Why did he resign? Well, if, let's say, Najdorf played rook here, we would have takes. At the very least, we would have something like this. Queen and knight versus 2 rooks. Now this is a situation where the material does matter because we're in the end game. There's not as many dynamic factors that are because the pieces, there aren't as many pieces on the board. There's less dynamic factors, so material is very important here. So white should win this easily.
Definitely. Wow.
Oh, good point, Sasha. And that was actually, we can't take back with the rook because of checkmate here.
Oh.
So there you go. There's proof that I'm not using the engine, guys. Yeah, so king takes and the king. There's even a mate here. Look at that.
Mate. Yeah.
No, there's no mate. No, it's just plus 15, which is a small advantage.
Yeah, yeah. Definitely want to play it out to see.
So there you go.
Yeah.
2 games where dynamic factors were important, and I like this game because, I mean, a lot of people know the famous Fischer games. This one is not as famous. So, and also with my corny sense of humor, I thought it would be fun to see how Fischer beat Najdorf in his Najdorf defense opening.
Yeah, definitely.
So.
Oh, awesome.
All right, so I did a lot of babbling there, and I'm sorry, I forgot that you were supposed to drive that second game.
Oh, yeah, I forgot that too. I prefer you in the driving seat anyway.
Okay.
I'm better playing shotgun.
So any thoughts from you or both chats? How did you guys like those 2 games?
Yeah, I think you really hit the nail on the head calling this a Morphy style game for the last one with Bobby. Just the way he got every single piece out. It's so cool to watch that every single development was also just like a check or an attack or something. It was it was an onslaught, a gauntlet for poor Najdorf to try and hold things together.
Well, Najdorf was a very strong player. I mean, he participated in the famous Zurich tournament of 1953.
Right.
Which was the candidates tournament, which had 15 of the world's best players, and they played a double round robin, so 30 rounds.
Damn.
Arguably, like, that's like the best tournament in history. So wow. Najdorf, I mean, being one of the participants there, he was in the top at one point.
Yeah. How old was Najdorf here? Was he in the later stages of his chess career in '64?
I honestly don't know. That's a good question.
Just wondering.
I'm not sure.
In relation to Bobby Fischer.
Maybe he'd be in his 50s at this point. Not sure.
Okay.
He could still be in his 40s. I mean, I really don't know when he was born, so I'd have to look that up.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I was just curious if, like, this was him at his peak, or... But, yeah, age is just a number there anyway. Thank you, DJ, for the follow.
Well, let me just check the... You got me curious now.
Yeah.
When was Najdorf?
Because the last game we looked at, the last time we did a coach stream, we looked at Fischer versus Genko. And that was when Fischer was still sort of... career-wise in his infancy. He was only 14 or something. He was,
I think so.
At least he was under 20 anyway, and that was sort of his early prodigy era before he really.
Okay, so Najdorf was born in 1910. Thank you, Jet, for looking that up.
Okay.
So if this game was in 64, which I think it was, then he would have been in 54.
Yeah, got it.
So, not at his peak anymore, but still, hell of a strong player.
Yeah. A titan of the game.
Yeah, so guys, if you're just joining us, we just looked at two games, one by Capablanca and this one by Fischer. And if you want to watch both streams at the same time, you can use the multi command. Just click on that link in the chat.
Yeah.
And be sure to give ChessDabbler a follow. He streams every day. He's working hard on his channel. And he has good music on his streams too, guys. So give him give him a check out there sometime.
Yeah.